Next I'll do economics. Here is Capital by Marx. I didn't have a copy. I do have Marx's Communist Manifesto, but I do not have Capital. It says here, Capital, the Communist Manifesto and other writings. Let me see what's in here. Oh, okay, it's got both. Okay, I guess this book, it's got 3 parts. The first part is called The Outlines of the Future Society, and it's just got, I guess, some excerpts from the German ideology, the poverty of philosophy, and also the criticism of the Gatto program. And then in part 2, it's got the German ideology again, I guess, introduction to critique of political economy, and then it's got Capital, and that's like 300 pages. And then in part 3, it has the Communist Manifesto and some other random stuff, the Civil War in France, etc. So I guess I've got another version of the Communist Manifesto. I already had that. But now I've also got Capital. So that Capital, of course, is Karl Marx's economics, his attempt at economics. Some say that his economics was terrible. One of the things that rests on his economic theory is called the labor theory of value. I think also Marx was writing in response and in criticism of Adam Smith. But I don't know enough about that much about Marxism. Okay, this one is a fantastic find and a beautiful copy of what it is. The Theory of Money and Credit by von Mises, Ludwig von Mises. You probably know who he is if you've watched some of my other videos. This is a beautiful copy, hardcover. It's like, it feels brand new. It's got a ribbon on it. Wonderful black hardcover. It's amazing. This was like a mini lottery. I won a mini lottery as a book profile, I guess you could say. Wonderful. So I do have some other von Mises books, but this is his The Theory of Money and Credit. I have heard that Mises's books are difficult to read. I believe he wrote in Austrian, and then it was translated. I'm not sure, does it say it's translated? Yeah, it does. Yeah, his works are translated. Usually that means that they're harder to read, but of course, with Del Sol's book, Icarus Fallen, that was not a problem at all. The foreword in here is by Murray Rothbard, and it's got a new preface, I guess, by who? By Mises, 52. This book was originally published, I got a picture of him here I'll show you too. This book was originally published in 34? Yes, 34. Translated in 34. And here's a picture of him. Here's a picture of it. So, I can't speak to what the Theory of Money and Credit is about, though. Alright, next is going to be education. I got a couple on education. Here's a compilation. It's called Education in School and Non-School Settings. This is an academic book. It was at my library, a discard. And the only reason I have it is because it has in here a piece by Neil Postman, if you can believe that. Neil Postman actually was a professor for a bit. If you may know, Neil Postman wrote a lot about culture, and especially about technology's influence on culture. You should certainly read Amusing Ourselves to Death. The cover of the edition I have actually has people sitting on a couch watching TV, and they don't have any heads. The heads are removed. And that's, of course, that's what he means by what technology is doing to society. He in here has a chapter, about 20 pages, called Media and Technology as Educators. Interesting. There's certainly discussion about how much TV educates, usually they say America's children, how much TV educates America's children, which is certainly, that happens, that is something to think about. But also, of course, we use technology in schools, but we'd like to say that we use technology in a directive manner, in a purposeful manner, versus the TV, it's turned on and the kid flips through whatever they want to watch, and usually it's something mindless, right? Some mindless cartoon or whatever. So, interesting. Neil Postman is absolutely an authority on the effects of technology on culture, and one should be cognizant of that. Okay, next is a classic in educational theory, John Dewey's Education, or Democracy and Education. This is his magnus opus. This actually was pretty much drove the progressive education movement in the States. This was written early 20th century, and also it brought about Dewey's, it applied his progressive philosophy. I shouldn't say his progressive philosophy. Pragmatism, well, no, not progressive. I guess I could say progressive philosophy, but what I meant to say was pragmatism. The pragmatism of Peirce, I think it's C.S. Peirce, and I'm trying to think of the other guys. Oh, William James, of course. John Dewey had a version of his pragmatism philosophy, and he put that into practice with this, into education, in this book. This is absolutely a must-read for anybody in education, which I am in. I'm trying to help the education system. I'm trying to... the only reason I'm researching education is because it is dangerously flawed and needs help. If the education system didn't need help, I probably wouldn't be at all interested in studying it. But I have to have a copy of this, so I ordered a copy, so now I have it. Alrighty, here's on what is learned in school by Dreeben. This is it's basically sociology about education, and it talks about, it's an academic book, really. I did read it a while ago, but I don't remember much about it. It says here, the subject of this book is the nature of schooling and its links with the surrounding social institutions of family, occupations, and politics. The primary purpose of the book is to show the relationship between school structure and learning outcomes, and the relevance of those outcomes to the surrounding institutions. So, I guess one tie-in that you could use for this is to say, teaching of moral values. I think this is more of a heated debate in the States than in Canada. But there is lots of flack about sex ed, sex education, whether it should be a family matter or whether the schools should do it. Now, in Canada, as far as I know, across the country, this is probably true in the States as well, but there is sex ed in the schools, and it happens earlier and earlier. I know one thing that's really inflaming mostly religious groups is they're starting to teach younger and younger children about parents that can be homosexual, like two fathers or two mothers or whatever. And some people believe that that has damaging effects on a child's upbringing. Now, there's likely no empirical evidence to suggest that. It is just a fear. It is, I guess, certainly against religious teachings. I know right now there's, in the States, they're talking about gay marriage legislation federally, Supreme Court, via the Supreme Court. And so anyways, that's just one link between family and school. What the questions one could ask is, should some things only be taught at home? Should some things be only relegated to family to teach and not the school system? And what those things might be and why? What would be the argument for that? So, for example, one argument to say that mathematics should not be should only be taught at home versus school is that perhaps parents are not educated enough to teach mathematics to children. And so if we have a school system in which we're supposed to hire trained people, then that will take care of any problems with mathematics and kids learning it because we have trained people teaching it. Now, can the same be said about morals? Now it's more difficult. Can one be trained in morals and then be a moral educator? Most people would say that only ones that really had that expertise would have been priests. But the secular public today would certainly not agree with that. Yes, that's right. They would certainly not agree with that. So anyways, that's a debate. I just wanted to give you a taste of what some of the discussions would be about that. The other thing about the institutions of the occupation in school might be whether school should have some job training attributes, how much schooling should be designed so that it leads to careers, things like that. How much influence corporations and businesses should have over what's done in schools, such as the curriculum. So those are just things that people write about and think about and try to decipher and figure out a good balance or whatever. Last one, education, is a nice find in terms of reform people. John Taylor Gatto's Dumbing Us Down. John Taylor Gatto, or Gatto, I don't know how it's pronounced. He is absolutely a reform writer for education. And the subtitle is called The Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling. Hidden curriculum is certainly a concept that educators talk about, or academics, I don't want to say. Sometimes they're called educationists. The educationists talk about hidden curriculum. So hidden curriculum is something that we don't mean to teach, but it happens anyways. So for example, one piece of the hidden curriculum might be that the teacher has all the knowledge, the students are to learn it, and that is that. That might be something that is instilled if one spends 12 years of their time in school. That is not an insignificant part of their life, and some things may be inserted in their mind. They just get so used to it. It's so prevalent. It's one's life. And so another thing of the hidden curriculum might be that one must always obey authority. That is certainly some would argue that that's a part of the hidden curriculum. Anyways, so that's a nice find, Dumbing Us Down. That's certainly a reform literature in education. People that are radical about changing schools. This was originally published in 1992. This is 2005. Funny enough, John Taylor Gatto, he won quite a few New York teaching awards. And every time he would give a speech about it, he would just deride the public school system. It's just kind of funny that a great teacher who wins awards just destroys the system. He hates the system, and yet he'll teach in it. And he's a good teacher, I guess. He's a good teacher. The New York State believes he is. And yet he also thinks the school system is terrible. So maybe he's on to something, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, next will be philosophy, I guess.